Outstanding. So Mike Vrabel's going to speak to the media here in about 8 minutes. We will carry his press conference live. He remains in quarantine. Now, as we discussed earlier in the show, that there are currently 11 people associated with the Tennessee Titans from a coaching and player standpoint that are in the protocol. Ben Jones, starting center, the latest to go on the list yesterday. Now, in making that transaction, there were some releases, maybe some surprise you, maybe some don't. Probably the biggest name on there is the outside linebacker / defensive end, John Simon. Clayton Gathers, a safety. DB Nate Brooks, linebacker Cash. How are we saying it? Maluia? Is that how we're saying it, Lucas? Is that what we decided on?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And
was
then,
on the team for maybe a week.
Sure. And then I'm just going to call this D lineman that they cut Freedom because I'm not even going near that last name.
Akimuladun.
Okay, that. And I say that respectfully because I don't want to just absolutely butcher it and make, more of a fool of myself than I usually do. But anyway, so John Simon gets cut. You figure that he would have been one of the players that would have played a role in this outside linebacker rotation. I don't know that he's outright versatile, but clearly if that is being done, then they see him on this roster as a redundancy. Remember, only 3 active outside linebackers on game day has been the Titans' MO, at least in the last calendar year, calendar season, however you want to call it. So whatever they're seeing in John Simon, they're seeing from somebody else, whether that be Rashad Weaver, who can do a multiple or who can do a variety of different things, whether they're saying, okay, Ola Adenyi may be a special teams player first and foremost, but he can give us a little bit off the edge because he's shown that ability to do so. And this is great news for somebody like Derek Roberson, who, he speaks in short bursts, so you're going to hear him answer a variety of questions in just a second. But when last we spoke to Derek Roberson, and when last we spoke to his outside linebackers coach, Ryan Crow, the line that was given to us was, well, he's come in with the best mindset that he's had. He's come in the best shape. This has been his best camp so far. Now, on principle, and maybe I should readjust my thinking on this, but on principle, when you hear stuff like that, you're like, okay, they're kind of reaching for things to say about this guy, whereas the other players, we're talking about technique, we're talking about things that they need to improve, and all we're getting on Roberson is, yeah, he's had his best camp so far. But, maybe it's not always reading between the lines because Derek Roberson remains on this roster, and John Simon is not. So when we talked to Derek Roberson, this was probably 2 weeks ago, we asked him a couple of questions about, where he found himself on this roster and what he's been working on. And this is what Derek Roberson had to say. Okay, we'll go to Derek Roberson here in just a little bit. It's in your email, Lucas. I wish that you would just say that stuff on air instead of in my ear, because so people can see how the radio show works behind the scenes. It's all right. I forgive you. But Derek Roberson, basically, I would have had him on the outs. Not that I'm doing a ton of 53-man roster projections because I find that to be a bit of a futile exercise, even though it's good content and everybody likes to read them, including Mike Vrabel, by the way, who you'll hear from in 4 minutes. But more than anything, I look at that and say, okay, there's probably going to be some, maybe they're not necessarily surprises to the coaching staff, maybe they're not necessarily surprises to the players, but I do think that there's the opportunity for, say, a Cam Batson to play himself onto this roster. Now, I do think if we're talking redundancies, that Cam Batson's best fit is in the slot first and foremost, and that Chester Rogers is in all likelihood, if Josh Reynolds isn't right, Chester Rogers is more often than not going to be your slot receiver for the Titans. So that eliminates somebody like Mason Kinsey. It eliminates somebody like Cam Batson. But damn if he's not trying to make this team. Mason Kinsey is another one that's come up a good bit. He's become a bit of a fan favorite. Him and Mekhi Sargent, it seems like the social media world is leading that charge. But Sargent, I think, if they made the roster cuts today, and they won't, they'll make the roster cuts, or the final roster will be done at 3 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, I think Mekhi Sargent makes this team. It may not necessarily be just because he's given great effort. He clearly enjoys the game of football. The coaches are having to back him off a little bit during practice because he goes too hard, by Mike Vrabel's own admission. So, Mekhi Sargent, there's no Darrington Evans still. There's no Jeremy McNichols. Remember, he remains one of the 8 players on the COVID-19 list. We'll see if anybody comes off today. And then you would have said, well, Brian Hill, the running back that they signed out of Atlanta last year. Brian Hill, who hasn't really done much in the preseason and frankly hasn't done much to distinguish himself from the other guys in camp. Well, you turn around and Brian Hill's averaging damn near 5 yards a carry on Saturday. Mekhi Sargent was averaging 3, but then you see the transaction yesterday. Well, they placed Brian Hill on IR. So they're just running out of running backs at this point. And whether they keep 3, being Derrick Henry, Darrington Evans, and Kari Blossingame, who had a fantastic performance on Saturday against the Bears. He caught a screen pass for 50 yards. He looked like he was still playing tailback at Vandy not so many years ago. So they could get creative with the math if you're doing something like, say, keeping 7 wide receivers. Well, if you need to take from any position, maybe you're comfortable enough doing it at running back to where you'll keep 2 and a fullback and call it done. But if you don't, if you do what they've normally done in the past, which is keep 3 backs and a fullback, then Mekhi Sargent probably makes this team. I don't know how useful he will be once it's against starting NFL defensive linemen and linebackers, because he does not look overwhelmingly great as an undrafted rookie free agent. Doesn't look overwhelmingly great right now, but you do love his story. The best story doesn't always make for the best football player, though. You have to keep that in mind. The same for Mason Kinsey. The same for Cam Batson. But again, this COVID list creates, for lack of a better term, it may work to the Titans' favor and to teams' favor if you're trying to protect, say, a Racey McMath, who's on the COVID list. Maybe he doesn't clear protocol by the time the roster cuts come down. So maybe that's your way from getting him through waivers and onto your practice squad once he returns from the protocol. The most interesting places that they're going to have to do the math at or make the math work for them so that they can get the best 46 football players active on game day, it's going to come at wide receiver. It's going to come at defensive line, I think. And running back is going to be a bit of a fascination given how the players there, they're just running out.